Welcome back to my video series on how to make a responsive website from scratch. So far we've built almost everything. We've gotten through there. We've got this about section here. We've got our portfolio section right here that's looking pretty good. That's what we did in the last video. And we've got our footer down here. And this is what we want to be working on now. I've got my Photoshop opened right here. I'd forgotten to do the HTML for this, so we're going to throw that in right away. And then we're going to jump down and code the rest of it. And we'll be completely done once we're all finished. Don't forget, if you do want to try this and follow along with me, I have provided the link down in the description. You can download all these files and do the work yourself if you want to give it a try. So, might as well jump right into it. But before I do that, that's the end of this series. This will be the last video in this series. So if you did like it, please hit the like button. Let me know that you enjoyed watching these videos and leave a comment. Let me know if you have any questions about what I've done here. And if you have any future video ideas, please let me know. I'd love to know what you want to do and help you out with those ideas. So over here in our HTML, we'll come down and here's where I did my footer and I completely forgot my call to action. So we're going to do a section. Section with a class of CTA, call to action. And let's just pop open Photoshop for a second here to check out what I have in there. Now, if you remember back in the first video, let's scroll up here. We had this here where the text is super similar to how the text is treated here. We just have a few differences in color pretty much. So I'm going to do that the same way I did my hero section all the way at the top. And here it is. So let's just copy all that. Copy. Scroll back down. There we go. Paste that in. And obviously we have to come and change the text that's in here. So like what you say here will be changed to that. And this line here, copy that text, paste that in my span. And our button says hire us instead. Hire us. So let's save that and go and look at what that looks like on our page. Not sure I like that really big space we have there, but let's see what we can do to start with. So I'm going to scroll all the way down. Before I do that, actually, let's just grab this. And we're going to call this my CTA, my call to action. So first of all, CTA has that crazy green background color. So we were using that on our buttons. I'm going to copy that right there, come down to my CTA background color, and paste that right in. That looks really nice. We're going to come and add some padding. So padding, let's go with something like 3M and 0. And that didn't add any. Oh no. I never did my clear fix because I never had to, but all of these things here are floating. Did I never do a clear fix? Huh, we got this far down without having to worry about a clear fix. Let's come all the way up to my general stuff here and add one in. Typography container. So I'm going to do this as a pretty simple one. Let's just do, I'll make a clear fix class, but I'm not actually going to use that. I'm also going to use that on my, all my sections should also use this, and I could probably put that on some other stuff, but I'm going to make the clearfix class just in case I would need to use it later on. I don't think I'm going to need one in this example, but since the beginning I've been working on this assuming it would actually be a bigger project that would have other pages, so that could be useful. And in this case on the section, and actually in both of these cases, this should be an after and after. So we have after, we need content. There's no content, but we need to put that there. So there is no content and it exists. Then we need to do a display. I'll just do a display block. And we need a clear both. And that should fix it. Except section doesn't have a period. There we go. And that's looking much better, except now I have some space. What's that coming from? Let's turn off the responsive mode for now. What's this coming from right there? Inspect. Container. Portfolio has a margin bottom. I gave it a margin of 3M0. I don't need a space on the bottom. Where's my portfolio? portfolio, margin 3M 0, 0. So we have 3 on the top, 0 on the left and right, and 0 on the bottom. That's looking pretty good. I'm actually happy with my spacing on that. And we just need to change one more thing, which is we need to be able to see our button. In my Photoshop design, I put my text in white, but I have a feeling the white might be a bit hard to see. But we're going to try it out. Let's just see. Color, FFF. I find that a little bit hard to read, so I think I'm actually going to leave it black. I think that looks a little bit better. And I need to change the color of my button. Now, the real question of it, and you can see there is my button. Do I want to change the color of my button only in the call to action, or should I have a black button? And I think in this case, it would make more sense to have a black button. So right now it's button accent. I don't want it to be accent. I want it to be button dark. And now I have to come to my buttons. So now we can see it, but it's just the wrong color. My buttons were pretty close to the top. There. We have a button accent. We'll copy all that. Paste, and this will be my button dark. Except my color will be my 232323. My border color, oh no, yes, 232323. That looks better, except now on hover, I'm going to change my background to 232323, and my color here to my green. Let's see what that looks like. 00FF6C. Oh, dark. That would help. And there we go. I think that looks pretty good. But I have some spacing issues here that I don't... I did want that big space. I liked it there, actually. Because it's this nice big area. Here, the spacing is kind of off. Inspect. H1 title. Is that margin specific to my title? Margin top, margin bottom. It was specific. I'd purposely spaced it like that. So I think I'm going to change this a little bit. I'm going to call this title call to action title. Actually, I should change that to title call to action. Title call to action, just so you can tell that it's, whoops, I'm zooming in there. So the main reason I'm doing this where it's title and then title call to action is I want to use all this styling, but I want to overwrite it a little bit. And just by keeping its title, this is still a title, but it's a special title because it's into my call to action section. And I'm looking for my CSS and I can't find it because I should be in my CSS file. And now I want to find my typography, which will be a little bit higher. Buttons, paragraphs, title span. And that means my span here is still going to work because it's still a title. I don't have to redo everything, but title, call to action, margin, bottom, 0. 0.5M. There, that looks a lot better. I'm actually just going to do margin 0.5M. I want my space on the top to have disappeared. Margin top should actually be 0. Let's just do 0, 0.5. 0 on the top, 0 left and right, 0.5 on the bottom, just to create my space here. And the main reason I want to do that is here, I want to make sure that my space here and my space here are exactly the same. And the easiest way to do that is just with my padding. So I have no margin after my button, I have no margin on the top. I can control all that now with my padding down in my call to action, and I want it a lot bigger. Let's double it. That looks nice. And let's go look on a smaller screen. I would have liked if that broke over 2 lines, but I'm pretty happy with how that looks pretty much across the board. I don't think that needs any other work. I'm pretty happy with that. This could maybe be a little bit smaller, 5. Cool. And now, nice and simple, not much CSS for that one, eh? And we'll come down and do our footer. So, footer. In my footer, we need to put a background of 23, 23, 23. our color needs to be FFF. That looks much better. Now, if we jump into here, I'd made this UL class of onStyled list, and I did that because, again, if this was on other pages, this might not be the only place I want an onStyled list, I would need to, I prefer doing that instead of just saying my footer lists don't have any style on them, or no bullet points. I'd rather get rid of that on just having a class for that, so it makes it easier to reuse. If I have another list somewhere else, it becomes super easy to come later on and use it. So my onStyled list is margin of 0, a padding of 0, and a list style type of none. And that looks much better. Cool. And now I can actually jump back into my footer and make this look a little bit nicer. So let's just go look again. I've set this up as a column 3, a column 1, a column 1, and a column 1. And I called them that because I wanted to create a bit of a grid system that again could be used across other parts of my page. So even before my navigation, before my buttons, after my typography, I'm going to come in here and create my buttons are part of my typography. So we'll even do it before my buttons, before my typography. Let's come in here and make a column system. It's going to be a really simple one. I'm not going to flesh out the whole thing. The only ones I have are my column 1 and I have a column 3. So the first thing is that we want all things that start with column to be floating to the left. So a nice, easy way to do something like that is to use this selector. So this is an attribute selector. You can choose attributes like this, and in this case we want a class. The reason that I'm doing it inside of this and not just selecting the class themselves is because I can come and do this little hat thingy, which is Shift 6 on my keyboard, is equal to, and I'm going to put a call hyphen. So any class that starts with, so this means starts with column hyphen, will get a float left. And you can see everything's disappeared because I also need my footer to have the clear fix on it. Luckily that's right here. Section after and footer after. Whoop, I don't want that there. Footer after. There we go. So they're all floating to the left. So anything that starts with call this float to the left, except we might as well, should we make the last child float to the right? Maybe. We'll see. We'll get there. We'll come back to that. Now I do need to select my column 3 and do something with that. And we do need to choose our column 1 and do something different with that. And pretty much this is for setting up the widths. Basically, if we look here, we have a nice, it's a 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we're using a 6 column in total that we're playing around with on this system that I'm developing. So that means my column 3 should have a width of 50%. And my column 1 should have a width of, I can't do math in my head right now. 16.666. 16.6666%. That should give us what we want, I think. So let's minimize that. Let's hit a save and, it worked. Super. And we could add a little bit of padding in there just to make sure things aren't scooching up against the side and whatnot. And I should probably put all of that in a container. So let's come back. Footer, I forgot to do my container. Cut. I always forget to do containers when I'm doing things on the fly. And just tab that over. That should place it inside a container. There we go. So it's no longer touching the edges. And perfect. Okay, so that's looking good. I have that. The one thing I'm a little bit worried about, and I don't want that to be center aligned. I also want to say that my footer, the widths I think are fine on that. My footer should be text align left. There we go. And I definitely want some padding just to stop things. Here it looks okay because the words are short enough, but it's really, really close there. So this is where we can use a little bit of padding just to create the spacing that we need. All the way back up to our column system. All my columns will have a padding of, let's try 0.25 m. And I don't want it on the top. 0.25 m. 0.5. I don't want it to be too big. And let's just do an inspect on that. That looks pretty good to me. I'd be happy with that. Except the first one shouldn't have any padding on the left, and the last one shouldn't have any padding on the right. So we can copy that and say first child padding left is 0, and that exact same thing, but last child padding right is 0. And did that work? Let's see. That didn't work. First of type. Why didn't that work? First child. It wasn't working because I'd had 2 here. I was treating them like pseudo elements and not pseudo classes. So first child should just have the single one there. Save, and now we can see there's no padding on the left of that one, and there's no padding on the right of that. So it just keeps with our system properly. And I'm pretty happy with that. We obviously need some padding on our footer. Footer, padding, we'll go with the same 5M0 that we had on our call to action there. And that's good. Now my only worry is obviously at this screen size, it's going to break completely. So we do want this to all stack. I think column 1s I'm always going to keep as column 1s, but column 3s wouldn't. Generally, if something's in a column 1, you'd think that you'd want it to stay pretty narrow, or that it would be able to stay pretty narrow, because if you can fit something in there. Yeah, I'm going to keep my column 1s like that, but at media, which actually means this is actually going to have to be a 100%. They're all going to be 100%. Let's just come down here then, and we're going to wrap all this in a media query actually. At media, because I only want this on the larger screen sizes, so my min width, let's just start with 40 rem and see where we go from there. That's not correct. Why is that taking up? So there, that looks okay. That looks okay. Why are these still next to each other though? Column 3. Column 1. Oh, because they're floating to the left. Yeah. I'd want all of them starting with that will also be a width of 100% by default. And I also need this. I made a few mistakes here. A lot of this needs to go inside of my media query. I was working from big to small when I should have been working from small to big. This will come into my media query. And this copy, delete, will all come into my media query. So basically what I'm saying is I want them all to be a width of 100% and just treated normally. I want them to be normal divs pretty much, which this does look a little strange. We're going to have to space that out a bit, but we want it to just look normal. We want them all to be treated normally. But then once we hit this breakpoint right there, it breaks into the columns. And that 40 rem actually works really well in this case because that's about as narrow as I'd want that column. Yeah. So what I'm going to do to fix this a little bit is at this screen size, I'm going to say that my columns also come with a margin top of 1em, except for the first child. First child, margin top of 0. And here we want all of them to have a margin top of 0. Margin top of 0. So they all have a margin top of 0 at the big screen size, but at the small screen size, they get margins to separate them. And this one here doesn't, so it doesn't sort of screw up our spacing around the whole thing. Now I really don't like how these are like that. I'm wondering if my column 1 should just stay columns all the time. It looks a little bit strange that it's breaking and going down like that, I must say. Let's just see what happens if I do this. Column 1 width of 33.333333334%, and a float left. That's not too bad, and then it will snap and go like that. I'll live with that instead. I think that looks a lot nicer. And now that I'm actually happy with that, do you know what that means, guys? It means this series is completely done. We've got this nice looking website. We got our navigation logo. We have this nice big area here. It comes down. We have this cool section here that I'm really happy with how that turned out, especially with how it works on the responsive side of things. We have our portfolio that's looking nice with the little hover effect, a call to action right there, and our nice little basic footer here at the bottom. It all works really well. It's fully responsive, and yeah, we're done. So as I said at the start of the video, if you did like this, please hit the like button to let me know that you enjoyed this series. Also, leave a comment below if you have any questions about what I've done, or if you want to recommend any future video ideas. I have a few videos coming up that I'm really excited about and interested in, and I have a few new things. These all videos were kind of long. I'm going to try something that shortens things down a little bit, because not everyone has half an hour to sit around and watch this type of thing. And if you want to keep up with what I'm doing, do hit the subscribe button. Just click on the face that you see there. You see me smiling, doing something silly with, click on that. That's my portfolio picture, and that will subscribe you to my channel if you haven't already done that. Thanks a lot for watching, and I hope to see you in my other videos to come.